पाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिविजगाचार्य स्तोत्र सदस्य श्रीमद् भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य शिलादास की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। ताई गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। So, since tomorrow is Sita Navami, so we have decided that today also we will be speaking on Mother Sita, and today's topic I have chosen, though it's very full of controversy and little difficult to digest, but I have chosen this topic of banishment of Sita. Very difficult topic for everyone to accept, but I like to speak on this, though it's a very controversial one. Because this is a very famous topic, a very controversial topic. A lot of people don't understand the right action about it, and that's why they have a very bad understanding about the characters in Ramayana. श्री श्री राधादास बिहारी की जय। सीताराम लक्ष्मण हनुमान की जय। श्री श्री गौर निताई की जय। श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। Before starting, I seek the blessings of all the Vaishnavas, so I could speak on this topic. Indeed, it's a real controversial topic, a very hot topic, especially for feminists, because they think that Mother Sita was quite weak, that she couldn't protest well and she couldn't take a stand well on this. And of course, Lord Ram's character is very famous, a very ideal character in all respects. But as the Ramayana flows and it comes to this part of Sita's banishment, that's the part where it is not easily digestible for anybody, for that matter. Everybody's heart pains when that point comes. So we'll try to understand how Valmiki Rishi has penned down the whole charitra of Lord Ram and Mother Sita exact way as it has happened, and how he is trying to present it, how he is trying to make us understand. That's also a very important point. So first I'll try to give a short analysis of the way Ramayana needs to be understood, or the way he has presented it, so as we can understand the character of Lord Ram and Mother Sita especially. So there are basically three levels at which one can understand, or the way he has presented, Valmiki Muni has presented Lord Ram's charitra, Mother Sita's charitra. First level is that yes, they are as the story goes, as they are normal human beings, king and queen. It's presented as it is, like, as if yes, they have taken a human form, and all the events are taking place just like a normal human being's life. Exactly, ups and downs. Sometimes there is union, there is separation. All those dramatic incidences have been penned down as it is, just like a normal human being. But another level he is presenting, where he is talking about that how at the same time Lord Ram is no other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Mother Sita is the consort of Lord Ram, Lakshmi Devi herself, and how it's been that they are spiritual personalities, and they have come down to enact these pastimes and teach us something from it. So that part also is being very well talked about in Valmiki Muni, by Valmiki Muni in Ramayana. And a third level with which certain incidences need to be understood are a part of the karma philosophy, that yes, there behind every action there is, certain things which we see in um, the incidences which we see in Ramayana, there is a backing behind it, that what happened in the past, because of which, what backlog of karma was that, because of which this suffering had to come, or this incident had to happen. So at these three levels, it is being talked about, or it's been presented according to Valmiki Muni. So these three levels we'll keep in mind as the event goes on. And another point which needs to be talked about is the dilemma, a very important topic. There is something called as internal dilemma and external dilemma. Means where we are like put into a phase where it is either this or that. Now we have to choose either this way or that way. So there could be external or internal. Sometimes conflicts, dilemmas come up. It could be external, could be internal. When it is external, it can be classified like there is two adharma. You are on adharma, the other person is also on adharma. And when both are adharmic, then the conflict which comes up results into destruction of both. But when it comes to a point where one is dharmic and another is adharmic, then the conflict we know is like, for example, Kauravas and Pandavas. Who won finally? The Pandavas. But the problem happens when both are dharmic. Then what to do? There the dilemma comes up. In the internal conflicts that is within us, such dilemmas are very often seen in us also. Because one thing is that it's very easy when it is something regarding to good or bad. When it is good and bad, we know it is something called as a moral dilemma, where there is something good, I know, and there is something bad, I know. But the mind is one which mostly takes us towards the bad. And then there is a dilemma, there is a conflict which I have to choose, where the mind makes you weak and takes you towards the bad thing. But what about when you have to choose? That's called moral dilemma. But what about when it comes to ethical dilemma? In ethical dilemma, we have our mind, we have our intelligence. In moral dilemma, it's okay, the mind is taking us towards one side, but the intelligence is very clear, it's showing the clear picture, this is right, that is wrong. But when ethical dilemma happens, it's very difficult to take a decision, because there intelligence is confused. Intelligence also doesn't know how to function in ethical dilemmas, because this is also right and that is also right. Now what I have to choose? It becomes it's a real difficult situation at that time. Something also happened in Ramayana. It's also seen something like that situation also happened in Mahabharata. Also such situation came up, where there was a conflict between Arjuna's mind, what to choose. Because one side there was his Kula Dharma, and the other side it was his Kshatriya Dharma that he had to fight because he was challenged so. But Kula Dharma, that yes, I have to protect my elders and I have to protect my siblings. So he also was into that dilemma, because what is right now? Because both dharmas, dharma means it's supposed to be right. This also is dharma, that is also dharma. Now what to choose? So similarly, Lord Ram also had this problem, like what to choose. One side is Pati Dharma and the other side is Raja Dharma. What to choose? Big dilemma. Very difficult decision to make. So such conflicts, when they rise up, such dilemmas which they rise up in our life, in Mahabharata it is very nicely explained that how we have to see three things at that time, analysis in three ways: content, intent, and the final conclusion. Content, it's very easy to understand what is right, what is wrong. When it's right and wrong, white and black, then it's very clear to us what to choose. White is very difficult to choose and make a decision between two rights what to choose. This many a times do happen. So in such situations, what to do? For example, the mother, what is seen at that time is the intent and the final outcome of that. Just like, for example, a mother, the son is sick, she has to give the medicine, but the small boy, he is not going to easily take the medicine, so she has to cover it up with something sweet. So she gives him this bundi laddu, small bundi balls, and she takes, take this is very sweet, very nice, I made specially for you. And he is doubting her, tell me the truth, this is medicine, this is not bundi laddu, this is only seen. No, this is bundi laddu, it's not medicine. So like that, she has to say lie at that time. She has to because the main content, the main intent is to administer the medicine, because of which he will be healthy, he will be free from disease. So in such situations, the intent and the final result of it is seen. Why such a decision was made, and whether the result, final outcome is going to be right. Like suppose there is that famous story is there, where mother cow was running, and that Kasai came from behind, the butcher came from behind, and then he's asking the Brahmana, tell me which side did the cow run. So now he is a Brahman, he's supposed to be truthful. So now what he's supposed to do, tell the truth or save the cow? So such situations do come, and the intent is seen. If the intent is pure, that no, the higher principle is to save someone's life than to keep my vow of truthfulness, then yes, I break one principle for keeping up a very higher principle, that's to save someone's life. So then the result of it is that yes, the butcher also is saved by the aparad and the karma, bad karma, and then the life of the cow is also saved. So like that it is taken, the intent and the consequence. So many a times it is seen that monarchy is very much taken. People have a very bad idea about monarchy because they have very bad experiences about monarchy. Everywhere, all around the world, we see monarchy is now banned, abolished, finished. It's all because whoever are the monarchs, the kings, they have misused their power. Whenever they misuse their power, then these problems happen. For example, I would like to cite an Akbar Birbal story for it. Sorry. So once Akbar, he is coming from somewhere to his palace on the horse, and suddenly he sees the washerman comes in front of him, and the horse gets stumbled and he falls back and he's injured. Then somehow he gets up and he goes towards the palace. When he enters the palace, he slips there and again he's injured. Then he moves a little further and he's like, what's happening, and then he keeps his hand in one place, and there a candle is there, and his hand falls on that, and then he's burned by that also. So he's thinking, what is this? I fall, first I had a fall, then I had a slip, and now a burn. So what's happening? Something must be there, something wrong I must have done or seen something. So he analyzed it, that must be that washerman. I saw him first in the morning, and that's how the whole incidences are happening. So he called Birbal and he said, do one thing. It's because of that washerman that all these incidences had happened. So you kill off that washerman, because others will also see such an inauspicious man, and they will also have similar problems. So better to banish him, better to kill him. Then Birbal says, my lord, that's okay. I accept your your word. But what about the washerman? He says, what? He says, the washerman saw you, and what's the end result of it? That he has to be killed today. So who's more inauspicious? So then Akbar says, okay, give it up. So, so yes, they have this great power which they can misuse, but then they require some intelligence like that, which can direct that power in the right way. Just an example to illustrate an important idea about how the monarchs did misuse the power. But it's not always like that, because we have seen wonderful examples of kings like in Bhagavatam, like Rantidev and Shibhi Maharaj, who cut his flesh and offered. So we have these great examples also. Not that always there is a misuse of power, because they have been guided by such intelligent people. That's how. Anyway, I'm putting up so many points just to put up certain principles which we will discuss later as the incidents goes. The story for the incident of Ramayana is that where where Lord Ram and Mother Sita, they are the king and queen of Ayodhya, and everything is very fine, everything is going very well. And then suddenly what happens is that one day Lord Ram is calling, what's his name, Bhadra. Yeah, he calls Bhadra. Bhadra is like a Vidushak, like he's supposed to always, crack jokes and make Lord Ramchandra laugh and make a very nice happy atmosphere around. So he calls Bhadra and he is asking Bhadra that, Bhadra, tell me, what do people talk about me in the kingdom? So when Bhadra tells, yes, everything is very nice, they speak very nice about you, they talk about your glories of how you killed Ravan and how you helped Sugriv, and so many things like that. They talk about those instances and they talk about your glory and how nicely everything is managed. And then Lord Ram tells Bhadra that yes, it's very good. They're talking all about my good qualities. Let me know, because he wants to know good and bad both, because the good qualities which we receive, sometimes we receive these good qualities, we are born with good qualities. There's the whole chapter of Daivi and Asuri Sampada in Bhagavad Gita, where they talk about the divine qualities with one which is born. So sometimes you are born with good qualities, and sometimes due to your good samskars by your parents, you get those good qualities. And sometimes we further continue it because of good association of good friends. So like that, our good qualities are nurtured, harbored. But so it's also very important to know, understand and nurture it and keep it like that, good qualities. And he also wanted to know anything bad talked about, because anything bad talking about, any kind of a rumor, any kind of acquisition which comes up, that also needs to be addressed, because the king has to rule the citizens, and if he has to rule the citizens, then the citizens have to see him very idealistic, very in a proper frame, so that they can emulate his example, so that they can follow his words. If there is any acquisition, then it's very difficult. The subordinate will never follow the senior if there is any acquisition on him. He has to be very pakka. So he's asking both sides, anything good, anything bad. So then Bhadra is saying, no, everything is very nicely. He says, no, there must be some acquisition, must be something that they must be talking about. So then Bhadra tells him that yes, my lord, I have been moving in different places of the kingdom, especially places where people sit and talk in corners of the city and all, where people can come together, they talk about in. So I heard there is a rumor going around that about the purity of Mother Sita, about the chastity of Mother Sita. There's a lot of rumor going on. People doubt about Mother Sita's character, because she was for 1 year in Ravana's kingdom, so there is a doubt on people's mind about her purity. What exactly happened? They also doubt whether really Sita was abducted or she got carried away by the greatness and power, and that's why she ran away. She left Ram because anyway he is like, one was here and better go away with this opulent man, kingly man. That's why she ran away. So there is a lot of talks like that in the whole city. So, now rumors are something which are very difficult to handle, because when rumors come up, one thing is that yes, you keep quiet, the rumors die away. But if the rumors go on and on and on increasing, then you need to address it. So it's sometimes really very difficult. It's something like, the fire. The fire, when you go to extinguish a fire, you may try to extinguish it from one side by pouring water. But sometimes it's very difficult because suddenly the fire may break out on the other side. It suddenly moves towards the other side and it goes more wild. We see those wildfire which had come up in California. Very difficult it was. For months and months it was going on. In Australia also. For months it was going on. And it was very difficult for the firefighters, if you hear them. It was very difficult for them to control the fire because from one side you start pouring water, extinguishing, and the other side it goes on, catching and becoming more bigger. So you have to really know. So it's just like fire. You have to really know how to control it or how to tackle it. Otherwise, it rather than going down, it increases more and more, just like fire. Rumor also happens like that. So it was very difficult for even Lord Ramchandra to tackle this rumor. This rumor was widespread. It was a big talk in the whole city of Ayodhya. So there is no way, because he had broad ways. If you see, Lord Ramchandra had 3 different ways to deal with this rumor. I mean, many ways, but 3 major ways was, one is he says, I don't care. I am the king and I have full faith on my queen and I don't care whoever says anything. Because I am the king, in any way I will remain the king and who will come and say anything to me? Let them talk what they talk, I don't care. But it cannot happen because, as I said, like the fire, it goes on spreading and increasing and the bad name spreads everywhere and then it becomes very difficult to control. So he had to address. There was no way that he couldn't address. He had to address this rumor. So then the second thing was that what he could do is, yes, catch all those rumor mongers, punish them, put them in jail and punish them so severely that next time nobody opens up his mouth. But he couldn't do that because that could bring a very bad fame for his whole dynasty. Because they will say, that look at this king, he's so attached to his wife. He's so attached to his wife that instead of dealing with his wife, he's punishing us. What's wrong with us? You deal first with your wife. The problem is with your wife, not with us. So, it will bring a more bad name for the whole dynasty. So, that's another thing which he couldn't do. Which he could, but then he thought, no, it's not the right way to address the issue. And then, so the only way he finally concluded, the only way by which he could stop these rumors is, at least for some time, take Mother Sita away from him. Take her away from the whole kingdom. That's the only way by which these rumors will cool down. This is how he finally concluded. And that's how he called the 3 brothers and he spoke to them about the entire incident and how the rumors have spread and it has to be addressed. And that's how he has decided that yes, he has to finally banish Sita from Ayodhya. And it was very, very, very difficult for the 3 brothers to take it. Now, again the dilemma issue comes up. The ethical dilemma comes up. One side is the father figure, Lord Ramchandra, the elder brother who's like a father figure. How can they revolt against him? How can they revolt against his decision? He's the superior. And another side is Mother Sita. Her purity, her chastity is being questioned. And how can they see how can they even speak or see about in that way Mother Sita, or how can they talk to her about it? And then finally, Lord Ram says that for this rumor to die down, I am ready to even banish all 3 of you if it is required. So he says, I don't want to hear even a word. And he orders Lakshman that you have to take her tomorrow and take her out of take her to Valmiki Muni's ashram and like that. So if we try to analyze, there was another episode of exile in Ramayana which was before to it, that was of Lord Ramchandra himself. When he was exiled right outside, out of the kingdom, into the wilderness where he had to fight with the demons and he had to fight with all the Rakshasa and everything. So, and that's how he had to sustain himself. But here, Lord Ramchandra, we do say exile, banishment of Sita, but actually it was not kind of banishment, because he told Lakshmana to take her to Valmiki Muni's ashram. Now Valmiki Muni's ashram comes into a broad aspect of his kingdom only. It's not that exactly it's out of the kingdom. It's actually a broad aspect of Ayodhya only. Valmiki Muni's hermitage in the forest. So in a way, it's not actually banishment of Sita. If you see, he has thought about it. Shri Shri Radharas Piyari ki jai, Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So if we say see it on another angle, he has not banished Sita actually. He has rather sent her into another protection of Valmiki Munis, and he knows that it's under my broad part of my broad kingdom, and if any problem happens, any demons attack or any problem happens, I can readily go and protect her. So in one way, he has not actually really, in one sense, banished her. He has thought about her safety. He did thought about it. So in one way, yes, there is no banishment. But on the other side, yes, he has taken her out of the kingdom in one sense also. So this is how Lakshmana was told by Lord Ram to take her away. So he goes to Mother Sita and he talks to Mother Sita about it, that how the whole incident, how the rumor is going about, and how actually first he tells Mother Sita that when he goes to Mother Sita, he says that Mata, we have to go to Valmiki Muni's ashram. And Sita had this desire to visit Valmiki Muni's ashram because it was in the province itself, and she had that desire. So she was very happy when she heard that. She was very happy. But Lakshmana was crying. So he says, what is this? Like a child, you're crying. We'll go and we'll come back in the evening. What's the big deal? Let's go. Even I wanted to visit, and really I'm very happy. There is no issue about it. Let's go. We'll visit and come. And that's what she was very surprised why he is still crying. And then he tells her that, I'm crying because we are going, but you are not coming back. You have to stay there only. And this is the decision of Lord Ramchandra. And she's filled with sorrow. She's filled with lamentation. She's almost like fainting. It was very difficult for her to take it. But then she understands that if Lord Ramchandra has taken this decision, there has to be a valid, very, very big reason to it. And then she starts analyzing and telling Lakshmana that no, Lord Ramchandra is right in his decision. So now how Lord Ramchandra is right in his decision, this is how Mother Sita is understanding it. Because she tells Lakshmana that yes, it is very important. It's a very, very right decision what Lord Ramchandra has taken, because if he has to rule over his citizens who are like his sons only, so how will the subordinate ever hear a superior? How will it happen? Unless he is free from acquisitions, how will it happen? So yes, in one way he has taken a right decision, because he has to present himself in a very ideal character. Another point which she talks about is that actually Mother Sita had two options. One option that she could go and she could fight, or she could just give up her life. But she couldn't do that because, yes, future, the sons have to be born. But she could go and fight. This is what feminists, they will always say, she could have gone, she would have fought with Lord Ramchandra, that, when you were exiled, I never left you. In all situations with you, I never left you. Now how can you leave me in this situation? She could have said like that. But no, she didn't took that stand. She rather accepted his stand, that whatever he has taken a decision, that's right. And then she understood his dilemma also. And some people say that she could have fought. Some people will say that she should not have accepted this situation because. Anyway, so this topic goes on because there is always feminists like that who will always talk about they misunderstand actually how these decisions were made, what were the situations like that. So Mother Sita actually never ever thought wrong about. She rather said that I trust in the decision of Lord Ramchandra fully. Now this trust is a very, very, very important aspect of any relationship. If trust is broken, relationship doesn't last long. But no, she never broke trust because she very well understood that it's not because of cheap reputation. It's not that Lord Ramchandra is reputation conscious, that's why he is abandoning me. No, it's not like that. He's not behind reputation. If we see, Lord Ramchandra was not behind reputation, because you know that even when Mother Sita was banished, and after that also when many sacrifices had taken place, in every sacrifice he had made an effigy of her, a golden effigy of her, and placed right next to her in sacrifices. So it is not that Lord Ramchandra has any doubt about her. If he had a doubt about her, he could have married somebody else, but yes, he couldn't marry because he had given a promise, you can say. But then also, why would he place an golden effigy of hers right next to a sacrificial event, which is a very sacred event, if he had any doubt? No, he didn't have a doubt. And Sita Mata also had full trust that yes, he doesn't doubt my character, and he is just doing it because to set a right example in front of all the citizens. So she was very clear about it, and she had full trust on him, and that's why also we see that she never made Love and Kush think against Lord Ramchandra. If she had a problem with Lord Ramchandra, she could have told Love and Kush, you know, that your father is so and so, he abandoned me, how bad he is, he didn't follow his Pati Dharma. No, nothing like that. Rather, she had given a very good picture of Lord Ramchandra and had harbored great respect for Lord Ramchandra in both of their sons, Love and Kush. So she was then ready. She said, okay, Lakshmana, no problem, we'll go, no problem. Lord Ramchandra supports me, and now as a wife, I am also ready to support Lord Ramchandra. As my husband, I am ready to support his decision. So let's go. And that's how she left. This is our aspect of looking the whole picture of Lord Ramayana. But there are certain esoteric understandings also, which are different stratas of understanding and seeing. There are certain stratas which are beyond our outlook. We cannot see it directly, but certain things we come to know through the great sages, through the Shastras. What is the esoteric understanding behind anything, what happens, especially something wrong when it happens. So when Lakshmana left her in Valmiki Muni's ashram, and as he's coming back, he meets Sumanta. And Sumanta tells him that, he tells about the whole incident, and he says that, look, I will tell you something which I have not yet revealed it to anybody. This is what Dashrath Maharaj had told Sumantra, because he was his close companion, Sarthi, close companion. So he had told Sumantra about this story. And what had happened in the past was, he used to visit Vasishtha Muni's ashram. And many a times in the month of, during the 4 months of Chaturmas, Durvasa Muni, in the 4 months of Chaturmas, Durvasa Muni used to many a times come and stay there. So one fine such Chaturmas, when Dashrath Maharaj visits Vasishtha Muni's ashram, he happens to meet Durvasa Muni, and he begs him and pleads him to kindly grace him and tell about the future of his family, about the kingdom, and how can he prosper further and help all the citizens also. So there Durvasa Muni talks all about the different members of the family, and then he talks also about Lord Ramchandra marrying to Sita and how then there will be suppression. And he's very pained by that, and he says, why it has to happen? Is there any way we can avoid it? And he says, no, it cannot. It's unavoidable. That suppression will happen. And he say, and then he tells him the history of Lord Ramchandra's past life. And he says that how in one kal, when what had happened, that when there was Devasur Sangram is something extremely common. It happens many a times. So in such Devasur Sangram, when the demigods were, they had a higher rang because they were winning on the demons. And so there was one, the main head of that demon, he fled from there. He was the most powerful one, but he fled from there, seeing the situation. And Lord Vishnu chased back him with his Sudarshan. And as he's then seeing the situation where to hide, he goes in Bhrigu Muni's ashram. And in Bhrigu Muni's ashram, Bhrigu Muni is not there, but his wife Khyati is there. And she gives shelter to this demon because she has come for shelter. So she's providing shelter. And then Vishnu comes from behind and he says that give back that demon. We need to finish this demon because from years and years we are fighting behind, and this is the one main demon because of which it's all happening. So I want to finish him up. So Khyati doesn't agree to it. She says, no, he has come in our shelter, we will protect him. There is no way we are going to give. If you have to approach him, you have to approach him on my dead body. So then Vishnu says, then there is no way. Anyway, if he kills her anyway, she is going to get liberated. So he says, okay, I will liberate her and I will finish this demon also. So he cuts her head by his Sudarshan and she is killed. Now Bhrigu Muni comes from behind. When Bhrigu Muni sees the whole thing, then he is very upset with Lord Vishnu, and he immediately curses Lord Vishnu that the way you were the reason for separation of me and my wife. So like that, you caused separation between me and my wife. Like that, you will also have to face separation from your wife. So anyway, there is no curse which can bind the Lord. But yes, he accepted. He says, okay, so will be my pastime. And he left. Of course, later Bhrigu Muni did apologize and he did felt sorry about it. That, anyway, even if my wife gets killed by Vishnu, she is going to get liberated. So, and another pastime where there is Tatparya Nirnay written by Madhvacharya on Mahabharata, where he also, of course it is on Mahabharata, but he has addresses certain issues in Ramayana also in Tatparya Nirnay, where he talking about a incidents where a demon did lot of austerities and pleased the lordships, and then the lordships conferred on him blessings, and he said, ask for a boon, and he says, I want to live forever. Demons, they have that propensity that they always want to live forever and be very powerful, strong and forever. So then he tells, he is asking the same benediction, that okay, if you cannot give me the boon of Amarta, then you give me the boon that I should be alive as long as Lakshmi and Narayana together. Now it's a very cunning way of taking the boon, because he knows that Lakshmi and Narayana can never be separated. So it has never happened like that. So he says, yes, till Lakshmi Narayana is not separated, I will be alive. So then this thing has to happen. So then this incident happened where Lakshmi and Narayan went apart, where Lord Ram and Mother Sita had to go apart. And that's the time when Indra attacked this demon again. And then the fight went still longer and longer and longer. This period also was long, so that fight also continued. And then Lord Ramchandra said, enough is enough. No more separation. Now I want union back. So then he is calling back Mother Sita. That's the time when he called Mother Sita back, that you come back and in front of all these citizens only, now you take your oath that how pure are you. Because yes, I had did Agni Pariksha, because at that time also Mother Sita had to give Agni Pariksha, because Lord Ramchandra said, I know people will doubt, people will talk about it, that Mother Sita, about Mother Sita's purity. That time even the demigods were present, Rishi Munis were present, but still Lord Ramchandra said, no, I know people will question about it. That's why she has to undergo Agni Pariksha. And Mother Sita at that time also accepted that decision, and she said, I am also ready to give this Agni Pariksha, because if this apavad will come up, then it's better I give Agni Pariksha and everybody sees it. Of course, we know the esoteric point also, that Mother Sita has to be exchanged with Maya Sita. So that time also she gave a pariksha. Now, again, when after the separation, when union has to happen, again he calls Mother Sita, but this time Mother Sita, she says enough is enough. So she's saying that, okay, if I have to again I have to give this pariksha, then this is the final thing which I am giving. So she says that, okay, if I am pure, if I have never thought anybody else than Lord Ramchandra, then let Mother Earth give me shelter and let me go back in to Mother Earth. And that's how the Bhumi Devi, she goes apart, and Mother Sita goes to Mother Earth shelter, and again the earth gets closed, and that's how again there is separation. It's of course to enhance the Karuna Ras, because this Karuna Ras goes on and on in the whole Ramayana. So the final point what I want to discuss is the whole Ramayana, if you see, has a sense of selflessness. Dashrath Maharaj gave the verdict to Kaikeyi that, okay, you can ask me whatever you want, I'll give you whatever you want. So to keep that word, he's ready to exile Lord Ram. And Lord Ramchandra also selflessly, he could have fought that time also, but as a subordinate, he accepted a superior's decision, and he said, okay, no problem, I am ready to accept your word, and I am going to leave the kingdom. Complete selflessness, there is no selfishness. He could have said, no, why should I suffer all this? I am supposed to be the next king, why I am supposed to go through all that? Then again you see Bharat, when he hears about all this, he comes back to Lord Ramchandra, and he says that time that, okay, we'll make an exchange. You go back, take the kingdom, and for you I will suffer the exile. He says, no, this is not the right attitude, this is not the right way. And so he says, okay, then selflessly he says, okay, he was ready to be he was saying, no, you be the king, no problem. But he says, no, I want to be as your servant, so you give your paduka, I'll keep it on the throne, and I will put a chatai below the throne and sit on that chatai and rule the kingdom on your behalf. So again we see a sense of selflessness. So, and then again Lord Ramchandra's selflessness, that such high quality of sacrifice has been seen. Otherwise people could have accused, he's so attached, and that's why he's not ready to make the right decision. No, he sacrificed rather. It was a very big sacrifice for Lord Ramchandra to banish Mother Sita. So we see a sense of selflessness continuing in this whole episode of Ramayana. Some people may talk very bad about it, that about this incident. They don't take it rightly. But if you see, actually there is a sense of selflessness which prolongs all throughout the Ramayana. So in one way, what's there to learn from this great epic Ramayana is this virtue of selflessness. And such virtue of selflessness is also shown, very much exemplified by our founder Acharya A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, that at that advanced age of 70, he is ready to leave the sacred dham of Vrindavan just to fulfill the word of his Guru Maharaj, that this message to be spread all over the world, because it's meant for all human beings. Why Westerners have to be deprived of this? So such selflessness is seen, because recently when I visited Vrindavan, I saw many devotees, some devotees who have also gone from our temple. They are all staying there in Vrindavan, and they are very happy. They feel they feel very elated and very happy they are that, how Radharani has given them shelter in Vrindavan Dham, and they are very happy doing their bhajan there. And I was thinking, they are in their 30s and 40s, and I was thinking, that they're so happy there. So it's good that they're very happy and that they're happy to do austerity there and their bhajan there. And then I was thinking that how it was for Srila Prabhupada, at that advanced stage, leaving Vrindavan Dham. What an act of selflessness. That, for those people who have no idea, nothing they know about bhakti, they don't know even about Lord Krishna, anything, to go to that place without any money, without any where to go. He says, when he landed down at Boston Harbor, he didn't know where to go, right or left. In such a situation, he is ready to be there. He didn't knew, because after that incidents of where that he was staying in that ashram of the yoga ashram, the yoga studio where he is staying of Mishra, there where he had conflict and then he had to leave from that place also. So he doesn't know where he is going to stay. Such was the situation, but still he stayed, he remained, and he continued. Such was the great selflessness we see in our Acharya, and it continues so. It continues so with the devotees who stayed in this place in the early days, where they served selflessly Srila Prabhupada just to bring up this great palace for Shri Shri Radharas Bihari. There also we see this act of selflessness, ready to endure all kinds of sufferings. At one point of time, His Holiness Giriraj Swami was saying that at times they didn't had proper meals to take. They used to barely eat some khichdi every day. They didn't had any meals. So once when Mrs. Warrior, she had a house right here only in our land, that heaven on earth where it is built, the old buildings. She was a tenant there, and once there was birthday of her daughter, and they had been invited, and so there were some nice preparations, idli, sambar, and some other nice preparations, and they just came in and they were eating it like as if they never ate for many days, as if many months they have not eaten. So we see, that's act of selflessness. They are ready to sacrifice everything for the pleasure of their spiritual master, and Srila Prabhupada sacrificed everything for the pleasure of his spiritual master. So this act of selflessness we see in our Acharya Parampara also. So anyway, I will stop to this point. If anybody has any questions or comments, he can. Yeah. Hanuman Prabhu.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी।
हरे कृष्ण।
यहाँ सारे विद्वान भक्त बैठे हुए जिन्होंने भागवतम का स्टडी किया है और शास्त्र को जानते हैं, है ना। भागवतम में स्वभिज्ञ और स्वराट भगवान की व्याख्या बताते हुए व्यासदेव जी बोले हैं, प्रभु पूर्ण स्वतंत्र है, किसी का अधिकार में नहीं, और स्वभिज्ञ वो सब कुछ जानते हैं, कोई भी वस्तु उनसे छिपी नहीं। जब सीता जी वापस युद्ध समाप्त होने के बाद आए तो अग्नि परीक्षा इसलिए जो मूर्ख लोग का समाधान करने के लिए, वो तो जानते थे कि सीता पवित्र है, सीता को स्पर्श नहीं कर सकता है, भगवान की शक्ति है। तो जो अग्नि परीक्षा में जो माया सीता थी वो अग्नि में गुप्त हुई, और जो मूल सीता है जो अग्नि के संरक्षण में थी वो प्रभु के पास अग्नि में सौंप दिया। पॉइंट अंडरस्टैंड? हाँ। फिर दूसरा पॉइंट यह है, जब सीता गर्भवती थी, उनके पेट में बालक था, बच्चा था, तब प्रभु उनसे पूछा आपकी कुछ इच्छा है? ऐसी पद्धति है, पत्नी में बच्चा रहे तो पति उसको पूछना चाहिए, वृंदावन जाना है, मायापुर जाना है, क्या तुम्हारी इच्छा है, पूछना चाहिए। तो बताए कि प्रभु मेरी इच्छा है कि 2-3 ऋषियों के आश्रम में जाऊं, उनका दर्शन करूं, उनका आशीर्वाद लूं अपने भविष्य के बालक के लिए। तो प्रभु बोले मेरे कहने पे सारे ऋषि आ जाएंगे फटाफट अपने घर, अपने को जाने की जरूरत नहीं है, मैं आदेश देता हूँ ले आएंगे। तो बोले प्रभु ऐसे नहीं, हम लोग ऋषि के आश्रम में जाना चाहिए, उनको बुलाना नहीं। ठीक, तो ये सीता की इच्छा थी, सीता जी की इच्छा थी और प्रभु इसे पूरे किए। और जहाँ तक कोई सीता माता के बारे में कुछ बोलने का है, अगर एक शब्द प्रभु बोलते थे, जो भी सीता जी कुछ बोलेगा उसको प्राणदंड मिलेगा, जो मरना चाहे जबान खोलो। तो सब चुप हो जाते थे। बारिश ने भिगा दिया, किसके बाद जा नहीं सकते हैं। चोरों ने लूट लिया, लूट के भाग गए, किसके बाद जा नहीं सकते। राजा ने दंड दिया, या सही या गलत जो करेगा वही कानून है। हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Broji. Just want to add something. So, very nicely you explained how Lord Ram actually, got cursed. And obviously, Lord cannot be cursed. We see in Mahabharata also, when Yudhishthir wanted to meet, after the war was over, Yudhishthir wanted to go and meet Gandhari and Dhritarashtra to, pacify them. Krishna told Yudhishthir, don't go. Let me go first. Then you go. Because Gandhari will be very much afflicted and she'll be in an emotional state and she will curse you. So Krishna knew that she will curse and Krishna accepted the curse. What was the curse? Vasudev, because of you, these brothers have fought with each other and killed. Similarly, your dynasty in Dwarka, they will kill each other. And Krishna wanted that, so he accepted. So Lord, when he accepts the curse, he knows that something I have to do in future. There's another pastime where Mother Sita also got cursed in her childhood. She was playing with some bird and the bird got killed. I don't know where it is from, but we have heard. So then she was cursed that when she will be pregnant, she will be separated from her husband. So these curses are there. Now many times people, they just come to conclusion, especially in Kali Yuga, because of Rajogun and Tamogun, we all have tendency to judge. We judge very easily the activities of Lord. We judge activities of everyone, even living entities. We come to this conclusion that this is what has happened, without understanding that why things have happened. One of the reason, one Acharya in South India, he explains why Lord banished. Mother Sita is telling to Lakshman, it is not that, he does not know about my chastity. It is not that he is worried about his image, as you explained. The main reason was Lord Ram is under managerial pressure. Organizational pressure is there on him, for which he has to take decision because the organization has to survive. So sometimes some decisions are taken for the benefit of people at large, and some people has to be sacrificed. Chanakya also says, if you have to sacrifice one person to save entire family, you give it up. And if you have to sacrifice one family to protect, to save entire village, you sacrifice the family. It's like, if a doctor says, I have to cut your thumb, otherwise you will die. Okay, cut the thumb. So many a times, we have tendency to judge. We judge the Supreme Lord, we judge Acharyas, why they can do like this. We have a tendency to judge Guru. Everyone, everywhere, because it is our Tamogun and Rajogun, we judge without understanding these backgrounds and why Lord is doing. Otherwise, Prabhupada very wonderfully writes in this Purport 7.2.39, he says, in this regard the queens might, one cannot argue with the activities of Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord is always free and therefore He can protect also and He can annihilate also. He is not our order carrier. Whatever He likes, He will do. Therefore, He is the Supreme Lord. The Lord does not create this material world at anyone's request. So Prabhupada is saying the Lord does not create this material world at anyone's request, and therefore he can annihilate everything merely by his will. That is his supremacy. If one argues, why does he act in this way? The answer is he can do so because he is supreme. No one can question his activities. If one argues, what is the purpose of this sinful creation and annihilation? The answer is that to prove his omnipotence he can do anything and no one can question him. If he were answerable to concerning why he is doing something, why he does not, his supremacy will be curtailed. So Lord does not need to give answer to anyone, but still, so that if people offend Lord, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he wanted to take sannyas. It's not something new. That was revealed to Brahma also, that he will come and take sannyas. Lord Ram, when he goes to Ritudip, in Navadip, there's a place, Ritudip. So Lord Ram and Sita are there. When they are in forest, they go to Mayapur also, Navadip. So in Ritudip, Lord Ram is telling to Sita that in Kali Yuga, I will appear in the golden form. And you will also appear with me, but I will take sannyas. Mother Sita starts crying. I will take sannyas. But then Lord is arranging a pastime that when some Navadipvasis telling that Gauranga, Nimai is beating me because he's chanting name of Gopi Gopi. So just to protect us, he may give some clarification. Otherwise he is not answerable. Similarly, now we have come to Krishna consciousness. Okay, we may have faith, we may have developed some faith. Whatever Lord is doing, there might be some reason. But still, we have not yet developed the faith and understanding and not developed that goodness, that why other things are happening. I may have some equal, some junior, some senior. Why is he acting in that such way? So there we become very judgmental, and that is where offenses starts. So just wanted to say that how people are becoming judgmental, especially this episode where Lord Ram banished Mother Sita. I very nicely explained, it was not a banishment. It is like, going to a, a farmhouse. Like Valmiki Mushi Ashram is just behind the river. So it's going to the farmhouse. And Mother Sita also, she desired that love and kush they should not grow up in the palace. They should grow up becoming humble in the Rishi's ashram. That was her desire, and he fulfilled her desire. So very nicely explained. I just wanted to add this. Thank you very much.
That's how I said, there is this level 1, level 2, level 3 in which the Valmiki Muni is presenting the whole Ramayana, in which the first level is that, yes, they are in the human form and, that they have come in a human form and they are playing this pastime in a human, and they have to undergo these things which happen with every human being. And yes, this point of sacrifice, that big people on big positions, they have to do a lot of sacrifice. Even these big great kings, they have sometimes how they show sacrifice and detachment from their positions when they are in a very high positions, but they show detachment. They do sacrifice when they show that when the time comes, when the retirement has to happen, they immediately leave the position. They are not attached. And another time they show is when big sages, Rishi Munis come, they come down from their asan and they receive them, they are ready to wash their feet and serve them personally. Example is Maharaj Pratap Rudra, who was ready to sweep the floor in front of Lord Jagannath because he accepts Lord Jagannath to be more superior, though he is such a big king. So there also this sacrifice point is exemplified. And another point, just to wind up, one other point is there is a lot of this suppression, but actually when this suppression happens, this suppression does same thing to love like wind does to fire. Like, when the wind blows, the fire also blows more and more and it becomes more wilder and wild. So in the similar way, when suppression increases, the love becomes more and more deeper. Of course, we should not think that, let me also be separated from other devotees, so my love for them also will increase, or my devotion for the Lord will increase. No, don't misunderstand it, because our love is like a candlelight, and their love is like, forest fire. So it's like the wind which will blow. The suppression is like a wind. It increases the forest fire. So like that, their suppression will still deepen the love. But our is like a candlelight. What happens to candlelight when wind blows? Gone. So like that it will happen with us. So don't take it in the wrong way. Yes, suppression deepens the love. That's how also this this mellow has to flow. So yeah.
Thank you very much for the very wonderful class. You were mentioning about Lord Ram could have done, three different things. The
Broadly.
Broadly, so you were mentioning different cases, that, and then finally he chose the third stage. So there in the first stage you were telling that Lord Ram could have told that Jo bolna hai bolne do, like I am the king, And second you said is, kaun rumor phela raha hai, usko pakad ke maro, banish them only. So, but then he chose to do the third thing. My question is that in this analysis, and Chakravarti Bro also very nicely said about managerially and cutting the thumb to save the body and things like that. At times, when we are at that position of manager and all, like it's not possible every time to regard and try to accommodate other people's opinion, because sometimes the opinion is may not be so valid, and that may actually, like it may be a wrong opinion also. So just because that that we have to save many other people, and that is a kind of a impulsion that has come to me, compulsion that okay, I have to just because there is majority of people are telling this and that. So that is my question, that how to deal in that situation. And secondly is when you said in the first half of your presentation about content, intent and the final end result, right? So here the final end result is something very important, because it may not matter what your content or intent is if after all your end result is achieved somehow. But then like how to deal in that situation, because content and intent are also important, as Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita, anudvega karam vakyam satyam priyam hitam chaya, that you do hita but in such a way that is content is also kept in. If it is possible, then best is to match such a probability that your content and intent and the end result, everything can be nice if it is possible. So here in case of Lord Ram, when he made second time Agni Pariksha, then the content and intent were the intent was good, content may not be good, but then the end result was something which Lord Ram, of course he knows everything, but if you see from this angle of humanly pastimes, nobody would have thought that Mother Sita will go in this thing, Mother Earth, but rather she will come out, like she will prove her chastity and will come back again. So the end result in this situation was something which was unexpected actually. So how did it serve this purpose? I hope you understood the
When it is a question of content, it is very clear, bad and good, very clear. But in contextual dilemmas, where two rights have to be chosen, it's very difficult. It is really difficult. And that's why I said the intent and the end result has to be thought about. That the decision is made, but the decision is made on the pretext, on the point of the intent behind it, making that decision, the intent behind it, why am I taking that decision, and what will be the result of it. Like Mother Sita, the end result what? Yes, Mother Sita, as Chakravarti Prabhu says, that she did wanted that also Love and Kush be brought up in a hermitage. And like Raj Parivas, Rajputras, they are always sent to Rishi's ashram for good training. So that was automatically happening. But yes, the final point, as I said, when the suppression was very long, and then Lord Ramchandra said, enough is enough, now bring her back, I want to unite again. And when she was brought again, yes, that incident happened. Unfortunately, that incident happened in one angle, if you see. But the other angle, as I said, there are different stratas of seeing the picture, on looking. So on the other strata, if you see that there is no separation between Lord Ramchandra and Mother Sita. They are always together. And love is something, Prabhu, in this material world, that is the pinnacle of love, separation. Because only in separation that actual union happens. A more deeper level of union happens, a more deeper level of, anyway, I am not so a right person to speak on that point, but that's the pinnacle in this material world, the separation. You see, Uddhava also, he came to the gopis, he saw their plight, he went back. What did Lord Krishna reply? They have reached that pinnacle. That's the ultimate thing in this world, separation, and that enhances the love. So in one sense, if you see, it's not, and that Karuna Ras had to go, no? Has to continue. I hope I am not crossing the limit.
Krishna, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I have a comment. Can I proceed? So regarding banishment of Mother Sita, there is a misconception, and one devotee, His Grace Jitamrita Prabhu, he has done great research from various Puranas, and he has established that the misconception is that people think that Mother Sita first she went to exile with Lord Ramchandra, and then after coming she was banished from the palace, so her entire life was in forest only, and in this way they speak ill about Lord Ramchandra. So Prabhuji, he established that actually Mother Sita was banished at the end of pastime. Lord Ramchandra, when he was 28 years old, so he went for exile, and after 14 years, when he was 42 years old, at that time Mother Sita was 33 years old, so they became king and queen, and for next 10,000 years they were living in Ayodhya and as king and queen, and after 10,000 years, at the end of their pastime, Mother Sita was banished, and this is proved because Love and Kush, they were born after the banishment of Mother Sita. And in those ages, Satyuga, Treta and Dwapar Yuga, especially the royal kings, they used to become parents at the end of their life, because when Dasarath Maharaj, he became father when he was 60,000 years old. So because if suppose if Dasarath Maharaj, he would have become father at the age of 40 and 50, so then after he ruled for 60,000 years, so then when he becomes 60,000, then Lord Ramchandra, he will also be like 60,000 years, then he will not get the opportunity to become king. So earlier in those ages, the system was that, especially the kings, they used to rule the entire kingdom for thousands of years, and when they were supposed to take sannyas go for vanaprastha, then at that time they used to become father, and when the son is qualified, they install him, and then in this way they retire. So here also Mother Sita was actually banished after 10,000 years. So there is no, it's not like that Mother Sita remained means entire of her life in suffering condition. No. Hare.
See, we should not judge because some devotee says. There are different scriptures, different acharyas. Abhimanyu, when did he become father? He was 16. Why that rule was not applied in Dwarka, in Dwapar Yuga? Don't just get one information and just say like that. Because Lord Ramchandra, there are different literatures. In one place it is said Lord Ramchandra ruled for 11,500 years. There's one which says 14,000 years. Even if you assume 10,000 years, still there are 4,000 years remaining. And in another Ramayana, I forgot the name, and South Indian Acharya, he explains, I think Madhva Ramanujacharya explains that Mother Sita was 33 when she became queen. They came back. She was 35 when she became mother. So, we cannot just conclude any scriptures because Lord is so mysterious. His pastimes are so mysterious we cannot just conclude by taking one statement. That's what I said. We are no one to judge. There may be different kalpas, different things, but we should not come to the conclusion that this was wrong. Lord wanted banishment, He did it. This 10,000 years may be true, but different acharyas also we have to take the commentary in and then come to the conclusion. Because it was not that Dashrath Maharaj, I have never heard that Dashrath Maharaj never wanted to become father. It was that he was not getting opportunity. That is why he has to perform yajna. And there was a curse. Not the curse, because Kaushalya and Dashrath, they were from the same family. And that is why when the daughter was born, there was some problem. So it was given. And then all these pastimes, so we have to hear from all the sides, all the angles. And I haven't heard, it's like, then it talks about another concept. Anyone in the material world will ask same thing. So Prabhu, that means I should do sense gratification for 50 years and then become father, because Kali Yuga age is less. So that will be difficult. Then Prabhupada says, even in Shastra says, Putra arthe kriyate bharya. That you bring the wife so that you want son. If you don't want son, don't bring the wife. You bring the wife and don't want son now, that means what are you doing? 60,000 years you are not touching your wife. If you are touching your wife, that is sense gratification. So that kind of things has to be very, very sensibly deal, because we are talking about Lord Ram and Sita and Dashrath. That means what? Dashrath Maharaj was engaged in sense gratification 10,000 years, 60,000 years and not having any child. So we have to be doing very thorough research, and we cannot understand also by research. Very, very careful. That's why I said we should not jump to the conclusion. So I'm sorry, because it has to be clarified, because many people will misunderstand. Every couple will come to you and ask you same thing, Prabhu, then what I will do? I will get married at 25, for next 25 years I will not have child. Then are you using child protection, which is abominable, which is sinful? It is sinful, Prabhupada says. It is breaking four regulative principles. So very, very careful when you are talking, especially about the Lord. That's why I said we will get into offense zone. We cannot take one decision. We cannot understand Lord. Hare Krishna.
Anyway, also point we were talking about was the act of banishment, which is very controversial, which cannot be denied. It is true.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So after so many explanations and Prabhuji quote wonderful purport of Prabhupada, and there is no way that we can question Lord. He is beyond our jurisdiction. But I'm not going to question. I'm not questioning Lord's activities. But when we are in preaching, so just like although he cannot be questioned, but still acharyas are giving explanations that why Lord did this. So many explanations you gave in class, and explanations are there. So similarly, when people ask such questions, so we need to give them some explanation so that they don't become offensive. Because if we don't give them explanation, then they become atheist or they don't take to bhakti. So preacher has to be very smart in how to give answer, and do not so that people come closer to Lord. So I'm asking in that mood. So when we say that Lord banished Mother Sita, and what people ask, and this question I'm not able to answer, that's why I'm asking. So we see that in forest, in exile, when Mother Sita was there with Lord, so then Lord had a conversation with Mother Sita that now this pastime has to happen, I have to kill Ravana. And this conversation happened, and Mother Sita was sent to Agni Loka, and Chaya Sita was brought. And this only Mother Sita and Lord Rama they knew. Lakshmana also did not know. And then during Agni Pariksha, Lord brought original Sita back. So people ask that could not Lord Rama speak to Mother Sita one night before that this is what people are talking about you, what should I do, I am in dilemma, Rajharma. And Mother Sita, she could have agreed that okay, then this is the solution, please let me go to ashram. She would not have felt this pain that why Lord did not even tell me, or why he rejected me. And this could have happened, then people could not have questioned only. that he rejected Sita and did not even speak to her. Another understanding which comes to me is that because Mother Sita and Lord Rama, they are inseparable, and if Lord had told her that I am going to send you away, she could not have bear that, and Lord also could not speak because they loved each other so much. As we see in the pastime of Radha Krishna, that Radharani is sitting there with Krishna and the Gopal says Madhu chala gaya, and Radharani faints when the Krishna is there. But when we see in Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela, one night before he had a beautiful conversation with Mother Vishnupriya. He decorates her and tells her that I am going to take sannyas, and Vishnupriya allows. She says, okay, this is for what you have come, so take sannyas. Even though she is feeling so much pain, and then whole life she lived like that in separation. So we understand that this is the Lord's pastime, but this one point which I mentioned, could not he have spoken to Mother Sita that this is what people are talking, so I am going to send you away. So then this question would not have come that he banished Sita. I mean, I am not able to answer this question to people in that way mood I am asking this, not questioning Lord's acts or anything. So if you can please clarify this.
Anybody has to address to it?
Question is, when he could have spoken to Mother Sita one night before that this is what I am going to do, as he did in Chaitanya Leela also before taking sannyas. For us is whatever he does is
Prabhupada says, variety is the mother of enjoyment. And who is the ultimate enjoyer? Lord. So when he leaves Vrindavan, he says, Maya, I will come. I will just go watch this beautiful match of wrestling and come back. He never comes back. For Vishnupriya doesn't allow Lord to take sannyas. Ultimately, she has to say that, my Lord, you are supreme. What can I do? So she doesn't give permission, okay, you take sannyas. It's very clearly written in Chaitanya Mangal that she is heartbroken. And when I said the pastime of Ritudip, so Mother Sita is also heartbroken. So why he did? He may not want to tell. He didn't. See, what you sometimes now, when people ask you question, put another question. Because nobody, Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur says, nobody in the creation can have all the answers. Many answers we don't have about ourselves. If you ask me how many hair I have in my head now, I cannot tell you. Forget about spiritual subject matters. So, like anyone asks me, Prabhu, Lord Ram worship Lord Shiva. So Shiva is supreme. So I say, okay, then Lord Krishna also worships Sudama. So Sudama is supreme. Why don't you put same question, you just put the different situation. So some things are, even acharyas have not commented. So you have to give some logical answer to people, that is Lord's will. And we have to give faith. Not that in the 7th canto, in 6th chapter, one of the lectures Prabhupada is giving, 5th chapter, Prahlad Maharaj's qualities Prabhupada is describing. He says, Satyam Priyad, Satyam Bruhat, Priyam Bruhat. Prabhupada says, this is for material world. This is for material topics that you have to pacify the person to speak, you have to speak truth and pacify. Prabhupada says, for spiritual topics, you can just speak truth if a person is pacified or not pacified. We have to be loyal to the Supreme Lord. Trust me, I have heard from many sannyasis that you speak what you think, what your conviction is, as per what is given by acharyas and scriptures, and Krishna seated in other person's heart as Paramatma will either convince him or not convince him. Like yesterday we were talking, sometimes Krishna does not want, Krishna never wanted Yudhishthira to get convinced by him so that Bhishma Dev can speak. Sometimes there are people who are outright atheist and envious. Why to even break head with them? They'll never have faith. And if you cannot develop that faith in that person, then he will never become devotee. It will take time. So that is what I can say, because the acharyas have not given, there is no clear-cut answer in that. Anyone else wants to add what is the answer? I would love to hear.
Hare Krishna. one of the question was asked that is that justifiable that Lord, just because one small person in the kingdom raised objection, then on that one small incidence, how can the Sita be banished? So, in some of the places, we find this also, that Ram was not so haste to do that decision, because it's not that just he heard that Sita is pointed by one person and then he vanished. When he came to know this, he called his very close friends, and then he asked amongst them that, is this what going on is right or wrong? So many of them, they were very silent. So then Ram could understand that it is not only one person doubt, it was some other people also were feeling like that. So that's how the decision came. And specifically, as many devotees were telling, that many things are just given as a Lord's pastime and His supremacy, as Chakravarti Prabhu was mentioning, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, although he was a Karuna avatar, but then sometimes he acted like a thunderbolt. That he banished Kala Krishnadas, and this was not the actual mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in that, if you see the logically. There also Prabhupada writes that it's very difficult because Lord sometimes acts like a soft flower and sometimes he acts like a thunderbolt. And everything has different reason why he behaves like that. We may understand, we may not understand. So here also same thing is there, that we don't try to fit in Lord and his activities in our own logic. That if he would have done like this, he would have become a better God. Like that we should not do it. Devotees don't do it. Logicians may do it. So that's how this is like a higher understanding of God, which can be understood along only by devotees. That's how understanding Lord is not so easy as much as pastimes. If we can understand everything about the Lord, then where is the supremacy remains then? Hare Krishna.
And I want to take Krishna book and reach to everyone in the world. Prabhupada said, very nice, go and distribute. Prabhupada, but I have one question. What? In this Krishna book you have mentioned that Ugrasen Maharaj had an army, personal army of 400 crore people. 400 crore, no? How is it possible? I mean, 400 crore may not be the population of the entire world that time. Prabhupada said, you don't answer that question. You just ignore that. No, Prabhupada, but anyone will ask this question, then what will I answer? Prabhupada said, just ignore that. And he kept asking. And he couldn't understand. So we cannot give, even one devotee, Prabhupada disciple, that moon landing. After finally he left ISKCON and went. So Prabhupada never give answer. You ask, many times devotees try to ask this question, why did I came to this material world? Prabhupada never answered that question. Once he said, you go back to Krishna, ask him, he will answer you. So there are some questions we should not even touch, because there is no answer to it.
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी। दो चीज़ें हैं अभी, जैसे कि भगवान राम को जब वनवास हुआ था तो उस समय महाराज दशरथ जी,
ये प्रश्न है आपका?
नहीं, कमेंट है प्रभु जी।
अच्छा।
तो महाराज दशरथ जी जब शरीर छोड़ने वाले थे तो उस समय उनको श्रवण कुमार का श्राप याद आ गया था। तो उसी तरह से पद्म पुराण में वर्णन आता है कि माता सीता को एक तोते ने श्राप दिया था कि जब वो गर्भिणी की स्थिति में रहेंगी उसी समय उनको घर से बाहर, तो पद्म पुराण में वो आता है। और दूसरी चीज़ ये भी है कि अन्य पुराणों में प्रभु जी ऐसा भी लिखा है कि अगर कोई राजा है और वो बहुत धार्मिक है, हर तरह से धर्म के कार्य करता है, लेकिन उसके राज्य में अगर उसकी प्रजा, उससे अगर एक भी प्रजा दुखी है तो सारे धर्म कार्य करने के बावजूद भी वो राजा नरक का भागी होता है। हालांकि ये भगवान के ऊपर लागू नहीं होता है, लेकिन फिर भी भगवान तो शास्त्रों को सिखाने के लिए आते हैं ना। हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी।
Any more comments on his question?
One question is remaining of Sharad Prabhu.
So, but he asked a question and I am asking people have any comments on it that he can give. So
Yes.
unless it's not finished, that's why I'm waiting. I'm sorry, that's why I'm ignoring that question, because I never came across any Acharya speaking why he did this, why he didn't did this, and why he did this. So I never came across, so I am ignoring that to answer. So I am asking if anybody can, because if I had answer, I would have given. Sorry. Yeah, I think we are crossing limit. Unanswered.
He said that how to accommodate invalid opinions, because subordinates in the management, when we come across invalid opinions.
Invalid
means it may be
I think that's what management is all about, right? How to manage it. I mean, why otherwise they have to sit on that position if they can't manage it? And how is it that somebody on a managerial position gives an invalid understanding? They may make mistakes, I agree, but it cannot be invalid. Sometimes, yeah, some decisions are made which can be sometimes disastrous, sometimes it can be but no, management means that they come together. If they have a problem, they go to somebody superior, intellectual, and they try to understand it, how to go about it. That's what is all management. That's why they are managers.
The question was, if it is very clear that this is not very valid opinion, but there is a majority of that, so what should the manager do, the authorities do? Should go with the majority or go with the right decision?
That's nowadays in democracy, majority wins. But in those days it was monarchy. Whatever the king decides, that's the final. And the king also doesn't decide on its own. He takes the opinion of the minister, and if that also is a controversy, then he goes to rishis who are more learned and they can see the past, future. And they used to go to such people and used to get the final. Oh, Hanuman Prabhu has a comment.
हरे कृष्णा। 2 और 2 4 होता है। कितना होता है? 4। छोटा 5 साल का बच्चा बोलेगा 2 और 2 4 होता है, वो सही है। 50,000 लोग बोलेंगे 2 और 2 5 होता है, वो गलत है। इफ यू आर रॉन्ग, मेजॉरिटी मेक्स यू नो करेक्ट। अगर आप गलत है तो बहुत लोग बोलने से वो सही हो नहीं सकता है। जो गलत है वो गलत है, जो सही हो सही है। तो इंटेलिजेंस मीन्स पावर ऑफ डिस्क्रिमिनेशन। बुद्धि का वैभव क्या है? गलत और सही इसका निर्णय करना। हरे कृष्ण।
श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।